So once again, thank you everybody for coming out. Lighting is one of my big passions in production, so I'm really excited to see you guys out here today. Hopefully I'll be able to convey some really cool ideas for you. So I wanted to talk about what we're going to go over first. I'm going to kind of give you a little synopsis. We're going to talk about some immersive environments, creating with light and video. We're going to talk about digital Gobos. Of course, that's probably part of one of the topic. A lot of people want to know what exactly are digital Gobos, so I'm going to hopefully explain that to you. Create some cool entrances and exits, room transformations, projection mapping, and interactive elements. So we're going to got a lot to go through. So let me know if you have any questions. I want to give you a little perspective on me first. Don't worry, I'm not going to go this far back, but I just love that photo. This is kind of funny. So I started out. I studied theatrical lighting design in college, and then I became a DJ, and I started doing club DJs, and then into weddings. And once I started doing weddings, I realized that there was a need in our market for creative yet affordable event production. So we started out very small. My wife and I started out in our house and just doing everything out of our house. We are still what we consider a boutique event production company. So we like to focus on the more creative, fun, mid-size, events. Not some of the larger ones too, as you'll see. But I've been to a lot of presentations through conferences, and I've seen some amazing presentations about projection mapping and event production. And these guys, they projection map these big mountains, and they make the Bellagio hotel look amazing, and that's fantastic, and it's something to live up to. But at the same time, it's not totally relatable to us in most of the events that we do. So I'm hoping to convey some of the more relatable ideas to you guys. And hopefully something inspirational too. So first off, we're going to talk about creating immersive environments with light and video. And this is, when you're in an immersive environment, you really are talking about full immersion. That's the thing. Interactive and immersive are the key words nowadays, right? So when we talk about creating immersive environments, there are 6 key factors. Number 1, it's going to be color. So that's all of your uplighting, your color washes. That's kind of like your base. That's always our base foundation for most lighting designs that we do. Texture and patterns, those are going to be your Gobos, your pattern washes, even video projections, and even logos too. Logos can be still texture for an event, and I'm going to show you some cool creative ways to make them look better than just a boring logo on a wall. We always want to highlight important elements in the room, and a lot of that's going to be pin spotting. This is like some of your functional stuff, but we can make the whole room nice and pretty with blue lighting, but then all your centerpieces go away, and all the signage goes away, and the bars, and nobody can see what they're looking at. So you want to make sure there's important things to highlight. And for all the wedding people out there, that includes the wedding couple. For some reason, a lot of venues, they'll put them in the darkest portion of the ballroom, which is usually right underneath an air wall track. But so you definitely want to have some highlight on them as well. Another element that we like about immersive environments is movement. You don't want to have an event that's totally static. I mean, think about this room right now. This lighting is going to be totally static the whole time. And thank God I'm this animated person up here, hopefully keeping you awake. And the really pretty pictures and videos, I'm sure. But you don't want people to walk into something that's just going to be stale all night long. You want to kind of keep it changing and keep it fresh. And when we talk about movement, a lot of people think about lighting. They think about moving heads and intelligent lights and lights swinging all around the room. But you can really make it a lot more subtle. And I'm going to show you some examples of that. So sound is another important element, especially when you're doing themed events. Even just cocktail music. I used to be a DJ too, so I bring a lot of that with us. When I would do casino events, and we would, not even lighting production, but just casino events, whenever I would be DJing, I'd be playing all the Rat Pack music and all that fun stuff, but I had this whole soundtrack of casino sound effects that it just chatter on the floor, the casino, the machines being pulled and the payout. It was just a background through the entire event, and it just really helped fill it in. So just think about sound for a lot of your themed events. And then of course, this is the fun one, smell. Not a lot of people think about this. We've done it a few times. It's not a big one, but it can really just put the icing on the cake for you guys. There's a website called Scent Events. I don't know if has anybody in here used Scent Events? You have? That's awesome. Did you like it? Good. I hope so. I've seen them in action, and they do some really cool stuff. But imagine that you have a tropical event, and you want the whole place to smell like suntan lotion, or cocoa butter, or whatever. Whatever smells like the beach to you. Or a lot of people bring the outside in, so you can have it smell like a pine tree. The pine forest. That's just kind of those little subtle events, subtle accents that people might not notice, but then they're like, this is really cool. They notice it subconsciously. A lot of people talk about ROI. That's a very antiquated way of thinking about things. Return on investment. What's going to be my return on investment for this event? So we encourage people to think about return on experience or return on engagement. Really, it's more experience. So what is, everything that you do, how is it going to benefit your party, right? These people right here, and I'll show you this video in a minute, but as soon as they got off that bus, they're like, oh, quick, take my photo. So that's engagement, that's experience right there. So, it's all, another buzzword is, Instagrammable moments, really. Everybody's talking about that. How can you create, something that people are going to be, photoed in front of? What we're going to do now is we're going to go through a few events, and I'm going to show you some before and then how we transform the room. This is a very boring room, historical downtown Phoenix. We did this event for PBS Kids Day where they wanted to make it look like it was an underwater just transformation. So what we did is we have all of our uplighting around the room. We projected onto the wall these animated underwater escapes. And we have the water effect lighting on the wall. Even on the brick, it looks really good, even though it wasn't on, and it looks better in person, trust me, with the water effect lights there. But these are all the different elements. We could not use any of the room lighting, so we had to turn off all their lights and bring in our color washes that were on the center truss there, and just have blue around it. All the uplighting was alternating between blue and green. And then, of course, we had this interactive projection on the floor. And I'll talk a little bit about that, too. But that was such a really cool thing. When they run across it, the water ripples and everything scatters away. So, also, too, there's a lot of craft stations around the perimeter. And we put these magnetic pin spots on them and on the wall. So that way the kids could see their crafts. So that's highlighting the important elements. So this is the sound effect that, there was no music at this PBS Kids event. So all they heard, besides 1,000 kids running around screaming, was the bubbles, and then there's like whale sounds. It really felt like you walked into an aquarium, honestly, and this is in the middle of the desert. So it was really fun. So that's the power of sound going along with your visuals. Okay, we'll get rid of that. So this is another event that we did, and just this, they're not even ballrooms. I mean, these were like 30 by 30 rooms in a suite. Yeah, hi. I know, I told my wife people are going to ask about budget. Most of the events that you're going to see on here were under 10,000, And I can't say for everybody out there, I don't want to limit any of your production people, but our animated Gobos that we charge are like $400 a piece. The wall animations are about $500 a piece. So it depends on the graphic design, and we'll talk about that. But it's the underwater one was a little more, but a lot of the stuff is floating right around that. So we're not talking like $50,000 plus events. I wish I had a lot of those, which we have some, but it's like, I just have some more fun with some of these. Yeah, good question. So in this one here, so we have the movement with the moving heads, tons of uplights and black lights playing in there. This is just like this mystical theme. There was really nothing to describe it. We had an animated logo on the ground as people walked in, the low-lying dry ice, the nimbus, fog effect, which won't set off alarms, by the way, so please use those a lot. We took some of their logo, and then we just animated it and just had it rotating. So it's using some of the brand's logos and imagery inside your event. We did more production in these 2 30 by 30 rooms than we do in most ballrooms, because they just wanted to go all out. It's for a big Hendrix gin or something. But we had a lot of patterns, static patterns on the floor, like kind of leafy patterns, and then the moving patterns up top. It was just this really cool space. And a lot of black light, which does not show up good in video. Here's just another event. We transformed this room into a galaxy-themed event. So they had this white fringe drape hanging to divide the cocktail from the dinner, and we used that fringe drape as our projection surface for the Galaxy animations. And then we had just static Galaxy Source 4 Gobos all around the room. Had about 12 of those going around the room. But the animations, when you do it this big, you want to make sure that they're subtle enough that they don't make anybody dizzy or motion sickness. We also had some color washes, kind of you can see here on the chairs right there. You want to light the interior because the lighting in this room was horrible. It dimmed barely and then it just cut out. As you can see, that's about as dark as it got on the other side. So we would just turn the lights off and use pin spots to light up the room. But that's just kind of like transforming a room with Galaxy. And of course, you can do anything with with drape. Black drape does not, you can't really see a lot of visuals on it, so try to go with the lighter color drape if you want to project on it. The stars pop through though, so that worked out well. This is a really beautiful venue in downtown Scottsdale, and it's just super modern, which is awesome. It's a big blank white canvas for us. So we did this really cool Fire and Ice themed event here, which, how many people have done a Fire and Ice theme here, right? A lot of people have done those over the years. So we tried to find that little twist on it. We have the animated snowfall happening up there, just a normal static gobo on the floor. Of course, our blue up lighting all the way around. We had the red upstairs, and then the fire coming out the windows. Now, when we got there, our original plan was to project that fire on a wall on the upstairs. But then the planner said, oh, no, we're not going to use upstairs as we're loading in. So the beauty of video projection is that we just moved them downstairs, repositioned them, keystoned it, and we made it fit in there. And so it was just popping out the windows. It was really, really cool. So that's the power of video projection. Not only are you bringing this really cool animated element in there, but you have the flexibility of moving it on a drop of a dime, really. So this is another Fire and Ice theme. That is one projector doing all of that fire right there. And then we had two on the snow just because of the angle that we were doing. But this is huge for us, by the way. I talked to a lot of people from around the country. We live in the desert, so snowfall on a wall is awesome. I know people in snowy environments probably don't want to see that. But it's really cool for us. It's very novel. So it's really popular. But these are just projectors, no computers attached. It just has a media player attached to it with a looping video file. So we have different types of content or video files that are just kind of optimized for this. And and a lot of times the fire should be, you think it coming from the floor, but if you do that, then it projects on all the people. So we project it from the ceiling so it doesn't project on everybody. And then we have some normal static elements in there. So going back to this venue real quick, this is how it looks, again, empty. And then this is showing you the power of lighting. So on the left, we had this really fun, colorful Moroccan-themed event, and on the right was this elegant, romantic wedding. Same venue, just different lighting scheme. And that's the power of lighting. And this is how you can, like I said, redefine the space with lighting. We do a lot of events in the same venues, and we have to come up, make it creative, unless somebody always wants, I just want what you just did that time before. And so this pattern on the right, a lot of people ask us about that. It's this cloudy texture. It doesn't look like an actual pattern. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little insight into what we use for that. It's this glass effect gobo that goes in the Lico light to give it this cloudy texture. And you throw a color over it, it looks like cloud. You can even put some movement if you had a rotator. I mean, there's some neat things you can do with that. But that's just kind of a nice abstract texture effect. It's becoming really popular with us. A lot of people don't want to see that really hard-defined filigree pattern a whole lot anymore. So just that kind of that abstract texture is really cool. And that's a little before and after of a wedding ceremony that we did in the same space. So you saw a lot of really fancy lighting, I guess you could say, a lot of movement, video projection. I just wanted to show you in an airplane hangar what we did where just uplighting and pin spotting really just helped a lot. So we changed the uplighting from, went from blue to purple every 30 minutes, kind of give a little change. But we can't, like I said, we can't use the overhead lighting in this space because it's just horrible. It's hangar lighting. So all the blue uplighting will give you functional lighting. There's like 50 or 60 uplights in there, but everybody will look like a Smurf. So we have to break that up and do something different. So we just put all these magnetic pin spots that are out nowadays, fuel lighting. If you go check them out, they're on the floor. We can just stick them anywhere, really magnetic, and this is pool of light anywhere. And if you see here, we weren't even pin spotting. A lot of times we weren't even pin spotting anything specific. We were just throwing a pool of white light out into the middle of the sea of blue. And it really helped your eyes not be overwhelmed by all of this color. So that's just the power. But you can also see on the left here, we were highlighting the signage over there, and we did have some stuff on the catering stations as well, but it just really helps. And of course, on the floral center pieces. So even with just uplighting and pin spotting or whatever, you can kind of really transform a space. So to recap a little bit on just this section, some of the tools that we used, this is like the foundation for almost all of our lighting. Really, we can walk into any space and do 1,000 different events with just those tools, right? All the uplighting, the Licos, video projection, and I do put Epson in there because hopefully somebody from Epson will find me and sign me one day because I tout them all the time. They are amazing at what you can do with their projectors. And then the magnetic battery LED pin spots and wash lights nowadays, fuel lighting, and Chauvet DJ as well. They're out there. You should go check out their little Freedom series, their little Freedom H1s. Those things are amazing. We just bring them to any event, and I'll find a use for them. We just stick them up. The air walls, by the way, are magnetic, the walls themselves. So you can stick lights all over that and just have lights shining down. So that's kind of fun. So let's talk a little bit about a digital Gobo. Everybody wants to know what a digital Gobo. Does anybody in here use digital Gobos at all? Oh, yeah, you do, of course. I like it. Everybody on the perimeter. That's kind of cool. So digital Gobos, really, is anybody familiar with what a Gobo is? Everybody, yeah? Okay. That metal disc or glass that goes in that light projects, image, a cookie cutter for light. We call them digital Gobos. There's no physical portion to this. It's just a term that everybody knows what a Gobo is, so we'll just call them digital. So we use a video projector and a JPEG to create your image. So that's your traditional metal Gobo. They're ugly. The only thing we use them for are patterns nowadays. So you don't want to use them for logos, and you'll see why. So this is just the complexity that you can get with the digital Gobo with a video projector, and this is just a white patterns right here. You used to have to get glass Gobos for these, which would be like $300-400 just for a glass Gobo or full color. And with the keystoning, which I'll show you in a second, that we can almost project from any angle. I can project from here onto that wall in that corner and make it look perfect. It won't be stretched at all, and that's the power of projectors. And of course, you can do a lot of different color Gobos. The complexity of the animations, I'll show you some animations, but down here in the bottom left, we put a hashtag in for the big NACE event that we did a couple years ago in Phoenix. So you can have custom imagery in there, custom messaging, branding. You can change it from the beginning to the end. I've walked into an event, they're like, oh, let's project it here, and then 5 minutes before doors, no, let's try it over here. So we just turn it, resize it, no, let's bring it back over here, turn it, resize it. You can't do that with traditional Source 4s. And here is from, you can't see the top, but basically what a digital Gobo is from EPS, from a vector file to the event. So this is the logo on the left that they gave us, and we optimized it. So any kind of darker colors we might turn white. If it's a bright, colorful logo, then we might just project the whole color like you saw on some of the other ones. But the gray, I'm like, well, let's just make it white because it'll pop more. And then you can see it here on the floor. Now, when you're doing digital Gobos, all that black is transparent when you're doing video projectors. So you're not going to see it. So all you're going to see is really your image on a black field, and then you'll just see it projected. So it looks like a Gobo. The other beauty is with the digital Gobos is that you can do multiple logos in one projector. As long as it's in the same geographical area on the wall, you could do, I think we have 11, I think it's 11 or whatever on that left one. On the right one, there's 3. Again, that would have been like $1,200 in glass Gobos alone, just for the Gobos, not imagining the labor and the equipment. Also, too, like I said, that one in the bottom right there, the Founders Cup logo, the CEO or whoever walked in and said, that's the wrong logo, like 30 minutes before doors. I'm like, well, give me the right one. Put it in my computer, redid it, put it up, and it was fixed. I've done so many events with traditional Licos that they would walk in and go, oh, it's a little stretched, cut it, and so it's gone. You just lost that whole effect. And of course, Gatsby is going to be huge. Well, it already is huge this year. So this is a really cool Gatsby-themed monogram design that we've done. But the complexity is really cool. You can also project onto mountains. If you have a bright enough projector, you can project it anywhere, really. This is actually done, so all of the projectors we've done, that we've used so far, are like $1,500 projectors. They're 5,000 lumens. So that was a 5,000 lumen projector. That was like 300 feet away. And then there's another example that you can do on mountains. So there's really a lot of power in these projectors nowadays, if you get the right ones. Showing some of the animations that we've done over the years. Like I said, just bringing subtle animation to a logo or to the theme for Batman over there. Just bring this video projection. It's only limited by your creativity, and there's so many cool things you can do with it. We do a lot of when we talk about corporate event lighting and for charities and fundraisers, sponsors. Huge part of those events. They need to get representation. And if you can present, put up there, thank you to our sponsors. This is an animated logo, had little hearts going back behind it. It was for a Valentine's Day event. But you can, look, I think we had probably about 7 or 8 logos in there, but we've done, there's a couple of events, we do 50 logos, that just pop up on the wall throughout the entire night. And imagine that kind of, you would never have been able to get that kind of representation through traditional ecos. And then this is the logo this was their event logo, but we actually animated it. And this is for ovarian cancer fundraiser that we did. So this is what everybody saw when they walked up to the bar. But then it changed and became educational and informational. So this is the kind of stuff that will get people's attention. They're going to stop and look at this and go, oh, I'm going to watch this. If this kind of information was just on a board, a little cardboard by the bar, nobody's going to read it. I'm sorry. But you animate it, you make it lively and fun, and pretty. It doesn't have to be. The key to when you do stuff like this is don't have that white box of your video projector around it. Then they're going to go, oh yeah, it's a video projector. You look at this, it looks like it's floating out there. So it's decorative but yet engaging. So we talked about a lot of fun stuff. Now we're talking about digital scenery. So this is a big empty ballroom. They wanted to bring the inside in. So we projected 3, so we had 3 projectors on the ground there. It was just a static house, but we had like twinkling stars and shooting stars above it. But that's all it was. But the projector is sitting about 10 feet in front of that wall. It's a 30-foot wide by 20-foot tall projection. This one, for your cost, by the way, this was a lot more expensive because these are really expensive projectors. But they're still Epsons. These things are still only like this big, and you can have some major power behind them. You don't have to have scaffolding and giant Barco projectors in the corner. But I just wanted to show you that. Now, when we talk about digital Gobos and all that, oh, wait, okay. Yes, you? Oh, the projectors themselves are like 20,000 a piece. But to rent them, I think that event was about 15,000 total for us. So it's not expensive for what you're getting, but the projectors, compared to the $1,500 projector that we use for a lot of our stuff. Was there another question over here? Yeah. A little bit of both. Yeah, definitely. So as far as custom versus stock, I was going to talk on that a little bit later. But yeah, we try to create as much in-house as we can, but we utilize a combination of stock and custom. Yeah. So when we talk about video projectors, I think every planner that when we say, hey, we're going to use a video projector for your Gobo, they're like, okay, does that mean there's going to be a projector on the floor right in front of the wall? So no, we're going to put it on like a pipe-and-base stand. It's going to be off to the side. But the keystoning powers that you have in these projectors is that you can control each corner of that projection, and that way you can morph it and fit it. So I can cut the corner there going 45 degrees and make that Dara and Haraj, that was the digital part, make it look perfect. So that's the beauty of video projectors. Again, I go back to good ones. Not all of them are created equal. This is an example of some of our setups. They kind of blend in. These are small projectors. They're really not that big. These are just 5,000 lumen projectors. They call 5K projectors. So they're just on top of pipe and base. We cover it with white fabric. The one on the right, I actually scooted it out so you could see it in the photo, because otherwise you wouldn't see it, in the black drape. But it just kind of blends in. These things are very minimal. Our favorite game when people walk into an event is like, where is that coming from? I mean, I've had people stand on stage, there's projection behind them. They're like, where is it? I'm like, it's over there, because it's coming at an angle. They don't know that. So that's always fun. And especially when it's event professionals too, it's really fun. There is a group, a company that I do animations for, called Projectogram. And this is a great resource for you guys. I actually talked them into giving you a discount code. So if you know Photoshop and you know the way to create these things, go for it. It's great. If you don't, Projectogram will do it for you. And there's a lot of animated stuff that you'll see in here that is on the site that you can go and buy, like the fire, I think, the shooting stars, the snowfall. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of that stuff in there. So just use that code. And also, too, they have this whole guide about what mounts to buy, what projectors are good, and the different tools if you want to do all this yourself, if you don't have a production company in town. But they're really fantastic. So let's talk about some of the rules of our event production. We always want to talk about lighting to create focal points and define the space. I always like to say, when you're designing lighting for a room, think about where all the activity is going to happen. So for weddings, it's going to be grand entrance, first dance, sweetheart table, cake. Always think about where the camera is going to go. So we always want to highlight, so on the grand entrance doors, we're going to flank at least just 2 uplights flanking that door. So, because I know the camera's going to go there. I want to make sure those photos and videos look great forever. And so that's what we design with the camera, with the photographer's eye, I guess you would say. And also, too, if you only have one wall to do, like behind the head table, make it good. Make it a nice, pretty backdrop. For corporate, you're going to have your stage. You're going to have that's usually going to be like your main focal point. But there's other areas. So work with your production company, and I would work with you as a planner. I want to know those things. Where are all the important things happening? So many times we've gotten to an event or we started planning and we do a site visit and they're like, oh yeah, and I think the CEO is going to talk over here on the right and then we're going to go back over here. And I'm like, well, let's go back over to this because I need to know, you need to see this person, you need to hear them. So all the kind of think about where all the focal points are. We always want it to be seamless and purposeful. Really, for us, it has to blend in, look natural, and that includes our equipment as well. It really irks me when I see obnoxious and obvious equipment in an event. It's like you want to see the effect of the light, you don't want to see the light or the fixture. And we have like little facades that go in front of our uplights, stuff like that. We always want to enhance the moment, not distract. It's kind of like an ego check for us. It's not, I used to call it's not the DJ Jeremy show, it's it's the wedding, and I've always taken that with us, that we're there not to take away from the moment. And a lot of times people will say, okay, well the bride and groom are coming in from this door, but while they do that, let's have this really cool thing playing on this wall. I'm like, no, you can't do that because everybody is going to be looking over here, and we want them to look over there. We don't want them to go, oh, what's that? Oh, somebody just came in? You don't want that. So you have to kind of think about things like that. And then it's always about creating moments. That's our big goal there. Again, it's not distracting, but creating those moments. You can do a lot with the lighting. I thought I'd walk you through a venue that we do a lot. This is called Clayton House down in Scottsdale. Very, industrial, chic, modern, whatever you want to call it, but very clean and I don't want to say it's boring. It's a beautiful space. But I'm just going to run through a couple of events and show you how we've transformed it. So, of course, just uplighting and a gobo. Uplighting, of course, that right there is going to change any event, which is really cool. But then you change the style of the color of the uplighting. You get a nice blush tone. Do the tropical palm fronds. It becomes more of a tropical event. Then we did where it looks more industrial. Kind of outside in. I don't know, this is kind of an interesting one. Brought the bistro lighting. We do a lot of bistro lighting in the inside here. But even bringing some of the truss in there and then their gobo in there. And then we did this really cool bat mitzvah where we projection mapped the whole wall and had visuals playing. It was just kind of really fun and crazy. And you can see here, this is their photo montage. I always love this, by the way, tangent. People say, hey, we want to bring in a screen to project the video. I'm like, okay, but you've got this big wall here. Let's use the wall. This way you don't have to see this ugly screen. We do a lot of AV at this venue, and they want to bring in these big screens with the black dress kit. I'm like, we got this wall, just use that. It looks way better. It's more seamless in your event. But no, some people still want it, so I'll make them happy. But try to utilize your architecture that you have there, especially if it's big white walls. And actually, air walls are really great for projection as well. So we do a lot of starry sky, and it doesn't always have to be on the ceiling. It could just be on the side wall. That's kind of fun. But then we did it on the ceiling there, and that was really cool. So that was about 8 source 4s just pointed up the ceiling with the Gobo, and then uplighting, and then that was a Gatsby theme. But yeah, it's like starry skies are really fun. And again, that's that venue right there. So it's really cool, the power of lighting. I like that. Let's talk about some room transformation throughout the night, right? Okay, so a lot of the stuff that you've seen so far, it's that look all night long with some minor changes. This one was an amazing change that we did a real-time sunset throughout the entire night that went through video and lighting. So this is the empty ballroom. And then we projected onto, again, this is just on their padded wall. No screen, no paper, no drape, no nothing. And our projector is about 100 feet away. And it's the same projectors again, by the way. So we started out as about a 2-hour animation that was on the wall, and the sun was setting. And so during the daytime, the uplighting was like kind of lighter blues. And then sunset, we did red and ambers for the uplighting. And then as the animation's going down. And then at nighttime, blues and purples for the uplighting. And then the twinkling stars there for the animation. And then, so here is the animation sped up really, really fast. I think it was like 50,000%. So this one we did create, of course we used stock imagery for like the new deli, but then everything else we just animated ourselves. And then, so that was about over 2 hours. And then later on in the night, we actually used that same projection for their monogram, for club visuals, it's a big dance party. And that is the beauty of lighting, is that most events, especially social events, weddings, at the beginning of the night, it's elegant and it's romantic, it's just beautiful. And then everybody always wants that party afterwards. So the whole room can, just a push of the button, all the uplights start changing color to the beat of the music, and the visuals come up there, and it's something that they're not expecting. And again, so that's that setup for that projector. It's just, about 12 feet up. And again, it's just a 5,000 lumen projector. This is one of these little happy accidents. They wanted us to uplight those, but then it also created this really cool texture on the wall. So that's kind of neat to kind of keep an eye out for things like that as well. So let's talk about some entrances and exits. These are some neat ones. This one, they wanted to create a really cool entrance, and we didn't have any walls to project onto. So this is going into a bar or into a nightclub as a corporate event we did in downtown Phoenix. So we created this like runway of lights. And everybody loves this. This is a fun one. That's about 20 lights there. Really, it's the same uplights that go on the wall. We just put them on the ground, point them in a chevron pattern, and now it's pointing people into the event. And when we talk about interactive elements in your party, this isn't changing as they walk through it, but they are walking through it. So I still consider that interactive and immersive. So, and the cool thing about this is that this is using all of their brand colors. So as you can see here, we have blue. This is a parent company for these 3 brands. So we had the blue, orange, and the red, and you can see they're represented in that. And those are the only colors that we used in that animation. So that was another thing that they just really loved. And then inside the space, we had their logos projected on the ground with a construction-themed element. And that's a stock visual, by the way, that from stock sites that you can get and just put a logo over it. And that's how we blend custom with stock, by the way. But that's floor gobos and animated elements on the ground, it's a big thing for us. And I'll talk about that in a second to show you why. So this is a really cool one that we did for Hello, Arizona. Get him smiling back there. We had to create, it was a Coachella-themed event. And they just wanted something, I don't even know, it was just something really cool to walk through. And this is where they get off the bus. They're just like, wow, cool, let me just take these photos. But this is just some abstract, textured visuals, kind of just wild and crazy. But we also, on the ground there is a sidewalk going between the projections right there that you can't see. But we stopped the projection right there, and we keystoned it and just kind of let it spread out naturally. But it created a path through the lighting. And this is just two short throw projectors on tripods, kind of shooting down, getting up high enough. The cool thing about this too is that it's video projection, right? So you could have logos, custom messages. You could have video from the days, like a same day video edit playing on that, or you could just have it be really cool, fun visuals. So there's just the flexibility and the power of video. This is really awesome. So we talked about a little bit about these floor gobos. We do these a lot for inside, either outside the event or before when they walk in. A lot of times it's daylight, so we'll just have this as a surprise outside. The cool thing about these is that, again, these are using video projectors. You could not do this type of keystoning or make it look this good with traditional gobos. But I always love this because, you're inside the event, you have all the lighting, you have the gobos, people expect to see all of that type of content on the inside. I think they almost become numb to it sometimes, because they're like inside. How many people notice the gobo on the wall sometimes? But when they're going outside, they've left the event. They're not expecting anything else. They're like going down to the bus or to the valet. They see this on the floor outside, they're like, holy cow, it says thank you for coming. Or if you want to catch them before they walk in, it says welcome. And then halfway through the night, you turn it around and you change the image, it says thank you. But I guarantee that this logo representation or wedding monogram is going to get 1,000 times more impression or engagement outside the event because they are not expecting it out there at all. So it's really cool. You can kind of see, you can't see up there. There's the projector right there. It's just on a tripod shooting down. So it's not this, you don't have to get it straight overhead. And then, so here are some of the animations of, examples of those. But this is, we do a lot of outdoor events, and in Phoenix, it's a big outdoor area. So we have to try to find different places to utilize projection surfaces, and the ground is going to be your best place. I will say, though, all these things are on like cement. Pretty much most of these are on cement. You can't do it on this carpet here. It will look horrible. You could put like some white carpet down there to make a surface for it, but try it on a hotel carpet, not going to work. That was a nice one that we did, just this big thing where we just animated their logo. It was at an airplane hangar. And then the next one is cool for a wedding. Sorry for the really bad camera work. But this one, like when they went out to their valet, little fireworks that says, thank you for coming. And it's cool. To be honest, we just used the internal speaker on the projector for the little fireworks. So you just hear this little pop and crackle. It gets kind of loud. It's loud enough to get the point across. You don't need a fancy sound system out there. So, it's kind of neat. Yeah? That's a good point, because sometimes, I have not run into a corporate client that is opposed to that. I've always been more concerned about that than they have, I think. The only time I told a corporate client no is when they wanted to project the American flag for, I think it was around the election time. They wanted to have the flag on the ground. I'm like, no, you don't want that to happen. Because, somebody will walk across it and that'll hit the media, social media. But as far as logos go, I've never had anybody say no to that. All right, let's talk a little bit about projection mapping. So, you guys familiar with projection mapping? It's really just projecting onto an irregular surface. Like you can do all of these surfaces here, a non-flat surface. I've seen a lot of great videos where it talks about, they show you like J-Lo's dress being projection mapped and all the buildings crumbling, and there's some really cool things out there. But I just wanted to show you some of the ones that how we've used projection mapping at our events. So of course, cakes are really big. I mean, that's, Disney really kind of got the, got everything started a couple years ago with that. But we've actually done them for corporate. I think we've done more corporate cakes, where on the this one right here, you can see where it was for a venue where we had an anniversary party for the venue, and we just put all the videos from all their news and different events there, so it was on each different tier. And then of course themed events like the Wizard of Oz.
But I could show my prowess, be a lion, not a mouse, if I only had the name.
So here's some other events that we've done, projection mapping. This was 3 video projectors across a 60-foot wide surface on this foam letters, and then of course, the cake mapping. I actually put a little webcam on top of the cake and was filming me. It's just fun little things. You can do like free-floating, smaller surfaces. Just the balloons and the bigger events. I mean, really, there's some unique ways you want to do this. Again, you just want to think about, why am I doing this? Is it going to work for me? Of course, everybody wants the dress. Of course, when you do that, the person has to stand really, really still. Here's a really cool event that we did, and this is one of the larger ones that we've projection mapped. And as you can see here, this is a historic building. I've been wanting to do this for years, so thank you. So we had 3 projectors on this building. We had one on the first 2 floors, and then one on the top 2 floors, I guess, really the chimney, and then we had one on this wall right there. That was like a short throw projector that was kind of off to the side, just mainly because we had trees, we had landscaping getting in our way, so we couldn't just go head on with it. So we had to get a little creative with it. And this is how it looked when we were mapping it, setting it up. And I'll show you in a second a video, but these are all of our surfaces that we create inside our software to kind of give us all the different elements to project onto. And then this is our setup. So it's the same setup, just front and back. But really, I just want to show you this to show you how minimal these setups can be. You don't have to have, like, again, it's a scaffolding of ginormous projectors, to do things. We try to keep things minimal because we're in the event. Like I said, we're not trying to put the focus on us. You want to put the focus on the effect. And then this is a little bit of a behind the scenes for an event where we projection map. So all those little surfaces you saw in the building, this is kind of us doing it live. And these are just little white cardboard pieces, I think, poster board that they hung on this black drape. And then we just projection mapped each little white surface and then just through our visuals inside of it. So this is just you can kind of have this is really kind of cool just to put these white textures on this black drape. And then you can see here, it's going to zoom in onto the software so you can see how it translates what you're looking at up there. This is our software, so we can grab each of those surfaces, move them around. And this is a program called our Chaos Grand VJ. It's really powerful, really fun software to do. So when you think about projection mapping, a couple of things I want you guys to think about is the cost factors of these. Of course, how big do you want it to be? That's going to tell us how bright of a projector we need. Do we need a short throw, long throw? How many projectors? The content, again, this is what we're talking about, custom versus stock, elements. That's where most of your money is going to be inside a lot of projection mapping or custom animations. Is if you want to look like the whole building's crumbling, there's a giant arm that comes out, or there's little guys climbing up the whole building. I mean, that's all Disney and Pixar animation stuff. I mean, that's going to cost you. So hopefully you can find a happy medium there. Of course, prop construction, if you wanted to have something really kind of complex to map. Of course, the equipment and the projector and the rigging. And then time. You're going to pay a lot more for time because it does take more time to do all this stuff. Just for, it's a lot of calibration on these things. So be prepared for that. Yep. So the limitations of projection mapping, this is the big thing too. We get a lot of people like, hey, we want a projection map in this thing. I'm like, all right, what time's your event? It's from 12 to 3 in the afternoon. I can't do anything. It's all daylight. So just note that any daylight or even ambient light, if the room's going to be this bright, I've got to bring in a really bright projector to counterbalance that or to counter effect that. A lot of times for that building one, we actually set up the night before, and then that way we were ready to go. Otherwise, you're going to have to do some sort of focusing after sunset. So be prepared for that or plan for it if you can't set up the night before. Hopefully, there's different ways around that. The projector placement. Most of the time when you're projection mapping a 3D surface, the projector is going to have to be pretty much directly head on because you're going to have the best effect. If you're coming from the side, like on that building, we had a little bit of side effect because we were coming from an angle. If we're hitting a 3D surface, you're going to get a lot of shadowing. So ideally, we could have put it in front, but that's where the event was. So we compromised and found a happy medium there. That's why we added that third projector too. But just know that if you want to do something like this, you kind of have to think about where the equipment is going to go. So a lot of times when we do cakes, it's going to be kind of on a hanging above the cake. And then you can hide stuff and scenery. They did that on the floor. I think they hid it in front of this little box. It's really cool. And then time, we need lots of it. Trust me, we need lots of it. Some of your cost-saving tips, Shutterstock, video blocks, all these places are stock imagery sites you can go to. A lot of times you can go to this place called Pond 5. They have the same images you can find on Shutterstock for about 25% cheaper, so that's a nice thing to save. If you do a lot of the work for us, I don't mean it like that, but if you say, hey, I want to do space theme, and then I'm like, okay, I can go a lot of different directions with that. But if you go on Shutterstock and say, okay, here's the types of videos I'm talking about, that's going to save your production company a lot of time because then they can look at this and go, oh, that's what you're looking for. Just like a Pinterest board. And then they can say, I already have something like that. So it's or I can find it cheaper elsewhere. So, we talked about these are just wall animations that we've done where there's no computers, no projection mapping. So you can get this projection mapped effect, but without the actual cost of projection mapping. Just to show you some of the creative uses of those, and like I said, the fire is huge. It's cool. Bubbles, champagne bubbles, or it can be an underwater thing. And then, so I know running a little long here, but let's go and talk about interactive video for a quick minute. So this is LumoPlay. We use them a lot. There's a lot of options out there for interactive video, but you can do, these people are really great. It's very affordable. It's pretty easy to kind of create some of your own custom elements in this. They have a lot of stock stuff. And a lot of it's you think it's for kids, but trust me, adults like to do this too. But they've created some really cool, complex stuff. And you can't see it down there, but it says lumoplay.com, LUMOplay.com. It's just a lot of fun you can do. And I'll show you what we've done with them. Here, these are the types of events or how we've used their software for more corporate events, not just games. So this was their logo. It wasn't there until people walked across it, and then it just kind of, like in a dream, it just kind of appeared. For a mitzvah that we did where they were just walking through, and as you can see, all the little triangles kind of kick away. And then, talking about that little kid, he just gets so excited. But LumoPlay is really cool. And then this is a different software, but this is cool because this is a software we actually brought the kid's logo in. There were, his face was falling down and little, footballs and sneakers that he liked. So here's a few more examples of how we've kind of mocked up some LumoPlay. We haven't used them yet like this, but I just think these are cool options for weddings. You can have it walk across, or this requires a camera, different like kind of a Microsoft Xbox sensor to trigger a lot of these. This one's fun one. I like this one here. Let's say Samantha really likes her dog. So as they walk across, little paw prints come up. So it's really just limited by your creativity, honestly. So I know I kind of rushed through a lot of this. I'm sorry I went a little long, but I just like to end with, I hope the one takeaway you get from this is when you walk into a space and you're looking at something, just think this. Wouldn't it be cool if we did this? Don't think about the limitations, the cost, or what it's going to take to do it. Just say, wouldn't it be cool if we could have paw prints come across their kid's logo, or whatever. If you thought like that, then trust me, there's an affordable, creative way to make things happen. I think all of us are really creative in this room. That's why we're in this business. I think it's just knowing what your resources are out there. So, but that's just my thing. Wouldn't it be cool if we could do this? So, thank you very much, and That's what I have there. So. Are there any more questions? Yes. So typically, when we're creating custom graphics or designs, anytime, if you can get us the logo, first off, the logo for any logo projection in a vector format, like a JPEG or anything from your Facebook page is not going to work. So vector format, EPS, PDF, AI file. When we created that one for the Colleen's dream, is the one she's asking about, where all the ovarian cancer popped up, we actually extracted a lot of that from PDF files. I mean, ideally, in a perfect world, if we can really connect with your graphic designers, then that would be the best ideal to get all the elements. But some of them we were able to just kind of create on our own. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, the magnetic lights. There's 2 vendors out on the floor today. It's called Fuel Lighting, like gas fuel. So I think they're like right in the middle between Cater Source and TSE. They're amazing. His name's Paul over there. That's been a game changer for us because we can walk in and just put these things anywhere on the ceiling that are magnetic, and it's just really cool. So Fuel Lighting is the first one. And then Chauvet DJ. They have a small booth, a little more towards the right on the TSE side when you walk in. But they have these series called the Freedom Series. And they have this H1 Freedom. It's a little magnetic thing, battery, magnetic, and LED. That has just been huge for our lighting. And that can actually do colors and washes and all that. So, yeah, cool. Thank you. All right. Thank you again, everybody, for coming out, and hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other questions, please email me, or if there's any other questions, you just come on up and talk to me. So, thank you very much for coming out.